What I try to do is I always try to not put different parties or governments or countries into good buckets and bad buckets, whether it's Iran, Israel, or the rest of them. I try to look at certain events, and I'm very critical, extremely critical of the war in Gaza. So some positions I do take, and I think what's happening in Gaza is heartbreaking. What's happening in Lebanon?
What is it? Can you explain exactly how you would describe it?
Whether it's a genocide or not, I think it's just semantics. For me, I just look at the amount.
Is it really, Mario? Have you seen I'm sure you've seen the South African complaint, which was well over a year ago, to the ICJ. Israeli regime leaders expressed genocidal intent back then. They expressed they were very open about genocidal intent then, not now. And you know what happens to those people in the ICJ and the ICC when they make a move against the Israeli regime. The Americans sanction them. They threaten them. They show evidence of, I don't know, whatever. As soon as something happens, as soon as Israel is in trouble, then people are threatened with all sorts of things about rape, about, they suddenly, all sorts of people, they find dirt on them somehow. I'm sure I know that the Americans and the Israelis have Epstein's and Diddy's and others all over the place. But it's clear as day that the South African complaint showed that genocidal intent was there, and they've been doing it ever since.
When it comes to Iran, though, do you think there's a possibility that relations between Iran and Israel could improve and surprise everybody? Remember, Iran was, very friendly under the Shah with Israel, and even after the revolution in the early days, Israel was, and the US through Israel, were supporting Iran with the war in Iraq, obviously for various reasons.
No,
is there
never
Israel was sending weapons to
Absolutely
Iran?
No.
Okay, so putting that aside,
let me explain this, because this is something that they do say in the West. During the 1980s, the United States was supporting Saddam Hussein, and they removed the sanctions. Iran was sanctioned. And through Europe, they were giving chemical weapons. The French were giving jets. The Soviet Union was supporting Saddam Hussein. We were being gassed, and the UN Security Council wouldn't condemn Saddam Hussein. I survived 2 gas attacks myself. We were prevented from purchasing even gas masks while they were giving Saddam Hussein chemical weapons. So this is a fake narrative in the West. At one point, which I don't want to go into detail because that is a big story in itself, under Reagan, the United States wanted some sort of relationship with Iran. The reasons we'll leave for another time. And in order to create goodwill, or an image of goodwill, they promised to sell Iran certain weapons. And those weapons, Iran did not purchase them from Israel. The Americans went and used those weapons that were stored in Israel, some of them, and sent them to Iran. And when the Iranians saw those weapons with Israeli regime letters and so on, they protested to the United States, and they pulled back because they saw this as a sort of conspiracy or they perceived that maybe the Americans did it for other reasons, as a means to tarnish Iran's image. And also, other weapons that Iran purchased on the black market, they were not. They may have originated from the United States, from France, from Germany, from the Israeli regime, from Russia, from wherever, with the Soviet Union, or from Eastern Europe, but they were purchased from the black market by people. Palestinians in the resistance in Palestine, they buy Israeli weapons from soldiers on the black market, but that doesn't mean they're in collusion with the Israeli regime or with the United States. So no, the Israelis were never on the side of Iran. However, is there a possibility for improved relations between Iran and the United States? There's always that possibility. But with Israel, no. Israel is an apartheid regime. It is a genocidal regime. I ask you, Mario, do you accept the legitimacy of apartheid South Africa? Do you accept that it was a legitimate state where you had racial supremacism?
Not apartheid South Africa, no.
Do you accept supremacism in Palestine?
I don't accept what's happening in Palestine. I don't think it's right, but I definitely recognize Israel and their right to exist, which is a nuance.
You accept Israel's right to exist as a supremacist regime?
No, I think their actions, similar to U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, similar to Russia invading Ukraine, those actions I don't accept. I don't think they're right.
Mario, I'm not talking about their actions in Syria. I'm talking about the laws inside Palestine. Palestinian people who live in Palestine, do they have the right to vote?
Palestine as in West Bank and Gaza, or as in Palestinians in Israel? Okay, West Bank, Gaza.
Both. Do Palestinians inside what is inside the 1967 borders, do they have equal rights? No. And can they, for example, marry people in the West Bank? You know, they don't have equal rights. And the people of Palestine who've been expelled from their land, the people of Gaza, where are they from? They're from inside 1967 borders. You know that, and I know that. In the West Bank too, most of them at least. And many of those who are in Lebanon and in Syria and in Jordan, that's where they're from. In the case of in Palestine, in the case of the Israeli regime, it is not like the United States where the indigenous people were all slaughtered. Unfortunately for Netanyahu and his Zionist friends, they are still alive and breathing in other countries or under subjugation under their authority. And they're looked upon as Amalek, as inferior. As again, if you go back to the South African complaint, this is a regime that believes in ethnosupremacism and that the non-Zionists, I won't say Jews because there are many Jews who are anti-Israel and heroes in the resistance, but the anti-Zionists, they are subhuman, and that includes you, Mario, and that includes me. It includes everyone. But the targets right now, the focus is on the Palestinian people. A regime that has that mentality is not legitimate. I don't care what the country is called. You can call it Israel, you can call it Palestine, you can call it Walt Disney. I don't care. But this is ethnosupremacism. So if they want to preserve the name and get rid of ethnosupremacism, fine, they can call it Israel. They can call it whatever. They can call it old Palestine or new Brazil. But
do you think Iran,
ethnosupremacism is not acceptable.
But is that in Iran's best interest? Just looking, if you're just Iranian, focusing on Iran first, looking at all your neighbors, normalize relations with Israel and prosper economically, don't you think Iran has more to benefit if it goes down the path of normalizing relations with Israel and putting Palestine aside? Now, again, we both agree what's happening there is not right, but for Iran's economy, for Iran's people, and you